Barcelona might have just pulled off one of the smartest defensive signings in Europe. And his name is Alessandro Bastoni. But here's the crazy part. Not everyone inside the club agrees with this move. Stay with me, because this could completely change Barcelona's defense next season. Before we break it all down, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because on this channel we don't just report Barcelona news, we explain what it really means. Now let's get into it. It's important to note that Alessandro Bastoni is not just another defender. This man is a problem. A certified, verified, elite-level problem for every single striker he has ever faced. Born in Castelmaggiore, Italy, back in 1999, Bastoni came up through the youth ranks at Atalanta, a club famous for producing technically gifted, tactically versatile players. He was always considered a cut above. Smart, calm, composed on the ball, physically imposing but with the feet of a midfielder. This guy was built differently from the very beginning. Inter Milan, being the savvy club that they are, snapped him up and initially sent him back to Atalanta on loan, then to Parma, before finally integrating him into the first team at San Siro. And from the moment Bastoni stepped into that Inter backline permanently, the whole squad was transformed. Under Antonio Conte, and then later Simone Inzaghi, Bastoni became the heartbeat of one of the best defensive units in all of Europe. We're talking about a left-sided center-back who can carry the ball out from the back like he's playing in midfield. He reads the game like he's got a GPS chip installed in his brain. He wins headers, he makes tackles, he intercepts passes before they even happen. And then, almost nonchalantly, he picks up the ball and starts an attack with a 60-yard diagonal pass. Now let's talk about what this man has actually won and achieved, because the trophy cabinet is looking pretty serious. Bastoni has been a cornerstone of Inter Milan's success in recent years, helping the Nerazzurri win 2 Serie A titles in the last 5 seasons. Beyond the domestic titles, Bastoni has been a crucial part of Inter's Champions League campaigns, and we all remember that incredible run to the final not too long ago. When Inter were going toe-to-toe with the biggest clubs in Europe, it was Bastoni anchoring that back line, keeping the ship steady when the storms hit hardest. At just 26 years old, this guy has already achieved more than most defenders do in an entire career. And the craziest part? He is still getting better. This man has consistently shown up at the highest level, in the biggest moments, against the best competition in the world. So yeah, when Barcelona comes knocking for a player like this, you better believe the entire footballing world is going to sit up and pay attention. Alright, so now let's get into the meat of this story. How did we get to the point where Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs on planet Earth, is allegedly coming after Alessandro Bastoni? Well, it's no secret that Hansi Flick has been on a mission to reshape and rebuild the Barcelona squad since taking over. The German coach has been impressive in his time at Camp Nou, getting the best out of a young, talented squad and trying to restore Barcelona to their former glories. But every great manager knows that a championship-winning team is built from the back. And right now, Barcelona's defensive options, while decent, have not quite reached that truly elite, world-class level that a club of Barca's stature demands. Flick reportedly wants a pacey, dynamic, ball-playing center-back, someone who can fit seamlessly into Barcelona's possession-based style of play, and dominate physically against the sharpest forwards in La Liga and the Champions League. And when you write down that list of requirements and start looking across European football for who fits the bill, the name Alessandro Bastoni practically writes itself. According to reports from Spanish outlet Chiringuito, via FC Inter 1908, Barcelona have not just identified Bastoni as a transfer target. They have reportedly already agreed personal terms with the Italian defender. That means Bastoni, on a personal level, is reportedly keen to make this move happen. The player wants Barcelona. Barcelona wants the player. The only thing standing between this transfer and the finish line is the small matter of convincing Inter Milan to actually sell, and then finding the money to pay for him. Let's be very clear about one thing. Inter Milan are not in the business of just handing over their best players without putting up one heck of a fight. Inter have made their position crystal clear. They do not want to sell Bastoni, but they are also realists. They understand that in modern football, if a player has his heart set on a move, sometimes you can't hold that back forever. So rather than fight a losing battle, they have reportedly set their asking price at a cool 70 million euros. And you know what? That is an absolutely fair valuation for a 26-year-old world-class center-back in the prime of his career. Honestly, some would argue that is even a bargain. And if Barcelona wants to come and take him away from the San Siro faithful, they are going to have to put their hand deep into their pocket and come up with the goods. Inter have all the leverage here in terms of the asking price, and they know it. And now we get to the most dramatic part of this whole transfer saga. Because we cannot talk about Barcelona spending 70 million euros on anything without addressing the enormous, unmissable Barcelona's financial situation. It has been a wild ride for the Blaugrana over the last several years. And while things have improved somewhat under the current administration, the financial woes are still very much a real and present concern. Can Barcelona genuinely afford to go out and spend 70 million euros on a single defender this summer? That is the question that every Barcelona fan, every football analyst, and every Inter Milan supporter is asking right now. Because it's one thing to agree personal terms with a player. That costs nothing. Charming a 26-year-old Italian defender with the vision of playing at Camp Nou, wearing the famous Blaugrana stripes, competing for La Liga titles and Champions League glory. That's not difficult. Any player would be excited by that proposition. But writing a check for 70 million euros? That is a completely different conversation. And this is where the transfer saga gets genuinely complicated and genuinely fascinating. Because Barcelona need a defender of Bastoni's quality. But they may not have the financial flexibility to make it happen cleanly. Here's where things get really interesting from a negotiation standpoint, and honestly, this is the kind of transfer chess that makes the whole window so compelling to follow. Reports suggest that Barcelona could potentially use Bastoni's reported desire to join the club as leverage in their negotiations with Inter Milan. Think about it from a pure negotiation perspective. If Inter know that their player genuinely wants to leave, that he has already agreed personal terms with Barcelona, that his heart is set on this move, then the dynamic of the negotiation shifts slightly. Inter can demand their 70 million euros, sure. But if Bastoni is mentally checked out, if he is dreaming of Camp Nou every night, then Inter have to weigh up the reality of trying to keep up. Barcelona's strategy might be to make Inter feel that accepting a slightly lower offer is better than the alternative. A disgruntled star player who has one eye on the exit door. It's a risky game, and Inter are experienced enough not to be played easily. But this is the kind of behind-the-scenes maneuvering that defines big-money transfers in the modern era. Every angle gets exploited. Every piece of information becomes a negotiating chip. So where does this all leave us? Honestly, this transfer story is one of the most intriguing of the upcoming summer window, and we are going to be watching it develop very, very closely. Will Bastoni swap the black and blue of Inter Milan for the red and blue of Barcelona? Will Hansi Flick get his dream defensive signing to complete his rebuild? Or will Inter hold firm, keep their prized asset, and send Barcelona back to the drawing board? One thing is for certain, this story is far from over. And as soon as there are any new developments, any leaks from the negotiating table, any official statements from either club, we will be right here breaking it all down for you. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and drop your predictions in the comments below. Do you think Bastoni ends up at Barcelona? Or does he stay at Inter and continue his legacy at San Siro? Let me know. And until next time, Visca Barca.